When you picture the garage of a multi-millionaire TV star like Rick Harrison, what comes to mind? You're probably imagining a row of pristine, multi-million-dollar supercars. And honestly, you wouldn't be entirely wrong, but when the doors to Rick Harrison's private garage were finally opened, they revealed something far more personal, and way more shocking than just a car collection. It's a secret that's been hiding in plain sight, because what they found inside isn't just about money, it's about a hidden side to the Pawn Star that will leave you speechless. At first glance, it seems like just another well-kept garage. It's spacious, organized, and there are a few classic cars gleaming under the lights. But take a few steps deeper, and you're hit with something totally unexpected. What's tucked away in there isn't just impressive, it's a reflection of a side of Rick Harrison that almost no one has ever seen. How did this all stay a secret for so long? And what does it really say about the man behind Pawn Stars? For over a decade, Rick Harrison has been a constant face on our TV screens. As the star of the global phenomenon Pawn Stars, he's the guy who can spot a fake from a mile away and tell you the entire history of a Civil War bayonet without even blinking. He's the sharp, no-nonsense negotiator with a signature smirk, a walking encyclopedia of obscure knowledge, and the head of the most famous pawn shop in the world, the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, sitting on the less glamorous end of the Las Vegas Strip, became a wild tourist hotspot, drawing in thousands of fans hoping for a glimpse of Rick, his son Corey, the late and legendary Old Man, and their buddy, Chun-Li. The show's idea was simple: people bring in their treasures, their junk, their family heirlooms, and Rick and his crew tell them what it's worth. But it was the personalities that made it a smash hit. Rick, with his incredible knowledge and even deeper skepticism, was the anchor. He was the guy who knew a little bit about everything, a master of the deal who built an empire on things other people cast off. We've watched him haggle over everything from Super Bowl rings to ancient coins and celebrity memorabilia. We've seen him call in his buddies, who are experts in everything from vintage guitars to medieval armor. We got to know him as a character, the tough but fair boss, the exasperated father, and the ultimate history buff. He came across as a regular guy who just happened to strike it rich, real, raw, and unpolished in a sea of overproduced reality TV. His catchphrases and his laugh became iconic, but behind this carefully managed public image, a completely different story was playing out. Away from the cameras and the endless stream of customers, Rick Harrison leads a life that's far more complex and private than most people think. He's a man of considerable wealth, with an estimated net worth of around $10 million, but his true passions are found far from the pawn counter. And it's in his private spaces, specifically his garage, where the TV persona starts to peel away, revealing the man underneath. For years, what went on behind those closed doors was anyone's guess. But then, the whispers began. Rumors started to spread online, growing from quiet murmurs to a roar of sensational headlines promising to expose a dark secret at the heart of the Pawn Stars empire. The internet can be a breeding ground for some truly wild theories, and celebrities are always the main target. But the rumors that started swirling around Rick Harrison in early 2025 were on a whole other level. They weren't just about fancy spending or a hidden family secret. These were dark, dramatic, and sounded seriously criminal. Viral videos and posts, many of them created by artificial intelligence, started popping up all over YouTube and Facebook. The titles were all screaming the same shocking story. Rick Harrison sentenced to life in prison, or, what the FBI found in Rick Harrison's mansion will leave you shocked. This wasn't just simple clickbait, these were detailed stories, complete with fake details and AI-generated images of Rick in an orange prison jumpsuit. According to these viral tales, federal agents swarmed Rick's massive Las Vegas mansion in a pre-dawn raid. The reports were incredibly specific, claiming that agents from the FBI, the IRS, and a totally made-up agency called the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection had stormed the property. The alleged charges were explosive: tax evasion, money laundering, and the big one, trafficking in stolen cultural artifacts. The videos described a massive, illegal operation being run out of the back rooms of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. They quoted anonymous, former employees, who talked about a secret inventory system where priceless items, obtained through shady means, were handled off the books. These so-called sources claimed Rick had a network of shady experts who would forge documents to make stolen goods look legitimate. The scale of this supposed criminal empire was insane, with claims that over 700 culturally significant items, valued at more than $35 million, had passed through this black market, but the story got even darker. Some of the most extreme videos alleged a horrifying discovery inside the mansion itself. They talked about hidden rooms, secret compartments, and staircases that led nowhere. In one particularly gruesome account, agents supposedly found at the Museum of the Damned, a sealed chamber containing not just stolen artifacts, but human remains. These videos claimed that investigators found 25 bodies hidden throughout the estate, in walls, under floors, and even in Rick's office. The narrative was that of a beloved TV star living a monstrous double life, using his fame and fortune to hide a criminal empire. The videos were so convincing that they racked up millions of views, fooling countless fans into believing the Pawn Star was now a master criminal, adding. Another layer to the mystery were whispers about Rick's 80-acre off-grid property in Oregon. In interviews, Rick himself added to the mystique, talking about his love for the remote wilderness and the idea of buried treasure on his land. Conspiracy theorists twisted this comment, suggesting the property was a hiding spot for his stolen goods or something even more sinister. The mix of hidden rooms, FBI raids, and buried treasure created a perfect storm of speculation. The public image of Rick Harrison, the friendly neighborhood pawnbroker, was under attack. The question everyone was asking was, could any of this actually be true? In our digital world, a lie can get halfway around the globe before the truth even has a chance to tie its shoes. The story of the FBI raid on Rick Harrison's mansion was a perfect example. It was a spectacular, horrifying tale with all the makings of a Hollywood thriller, a famous celebrity, a secret criminal empire, and a dramatic FBI takedown. There was just one tiny problem. None of it was true. As the rumors hit a fever pitch, fact-checking organizations like Snopes and others started to look into it. They dug through public records, news archives, and court documents, searching for a single shred of evidence. What they found was nothing. There was no public record of any FBI raid on Rick's home. There were no charges filed against him. And that Department of Cultural Heritage Protection? It doesn't even exist in the United States. The entire story, from the backroom deals to the horrifying finds in his mansion, was a complete fabrication. AI detection tools quickly flagged the images of Rick in a prison jumpsuit as fakes, designed to create a convincing, but false, visual. The eyewitness accounts were all anonymous and impossible to verify, the classic signs of a disinformation campaign built for clicks and ad revenue. The reality was much more boring. While the internet was buzzing with tales of his arrest, Rick Harrison was just living his life. He was running his businesses, making public appearances, and, most importantly, building the garage of his dreams. The sensational myth of the criminal mastermind fell apart under the slightest bit of scrutiny, exposed as pure fiction, but that's not the end of the story. While the FBI raid was fake, that doesn't mean there aren't secrets hiding in Rick's garage. The truth is way more interesting than any AI-generated lie. The real story isn't about what the FBI found, but what they would have found if they had actually looked. They wouldn't have found evidence of a criminal empire, hidden bodies, or stolen artifacts. What they would have found is a different kind of treasure altogether. A treasure of steel, leather, and chrome. A collection that tells the story of a man's lifelong obsession, his relationship with his father, his personal wins, and even his losses. The secret of Rick Harrison's garage isn't dark or criminal. It's the key to understanding the real man behind the Pawn Star persona. Because when you open those garage doors, you're not just looking at cars. You're looking at the autobiography of Rick Harrison, written in horsepower and gasoline, with the smoke from the fake news cleared, we can finally see what's really inside Rick Harrison's garage. And while it might not be a criminal enterprise, it's just as jaw-dropping in its own way. Rick is a self-confessed car addict, and his private collection is proof, with around 30 vehicles that range from priceless icons to deeply personal projects. This isn't just a random pile of expensive toys, it's a carefully chosen museum of automotive history, where every car has a story, a purpose, and a special place in Rick's life. Let's start with a crown jewel, a car that makes muscle car fans weak in the knees, a 1967 Shelby GT350. Dressed in classic Wimbledon white, this isn't just any Mustang. This is a machine touched by the legend Carroll Shelby himself. When this car rolled into the pawn shop, Rick knew he was looking at something special. Only 1,175 of them were ever made, making it incredibly rare. This model, with its high-performance 289 V8 engine and 4-speed manual, was a huge step for the Mustang, turning it from a popular pony car into a street-legal race car. To top it off, Carroll Shelby's signature is right there on the glove box. After a tense negotiation, Rick snagged the car for $100,000. Today, fully restored models can sell for over $300,000, making it one of the most valuable pieces in his collection. But Rick's collection isn't just about raw power, it's also about legacy. And that's perfectly captured by another one of his prized possessions, a 1951 Chevrolet Styline Deluxe convertible once owned by the King of Cool, Steve McQueen. This wasn't just any car McQueen owned, it was used in his final movie, The Hunter, and he reportedly bought it after filming Wrapped. When the car appeared on Pawn Stars, you could see Rick's admiration for McQueen. He knows a car's value is in its story. Owning a car that belonged to a Hollywood icon adds a value you can't measure in horsepower. His expert, Danny "the Count" Coker, valued the car itself at around $30,000, but the McQueen connection made it skyrocket. Rick bought it for $37,000 and, in a brilliant move, later sold it at auction for a staggering $88,000, a huge profit that showed off his dual passions for collecting and smart business. Not every car in the garage is a perfect, show-ready classic. Some are passion projects. Take the 1932 Ford Roadster, a true icon of the hot rod era. Rick and Corey found this classic, highboy build, with a modern 6.0-liter LS2 V8 engine tucked inside. The seller wanted $105,000. After an expert valued it closer to $75,000, Rick haggled the price down to $68,250. These cars represent Rick the Builder, the guy who sees potential in a classic frame and isn't afraid to get his hands dirty. And then, there's the fantasy car. Every kid who grew up in the late 80s and early 90s dreamed of the Batmobile. While Rick doesn't own the original from the Tim Burton film, he did have a stunningly accurate replica pass through his shop on Pawn Stars. He didn't end up buying it, but its appearance shows his love for pop culture and the cars that become legends. These iconic vehicles are just the start. They're the headliners in a collection that goes much, much deeper. If you peel back the layer of high-value, iconic cars, you find the real heart of Rick Harrison's garage. This is where the story stops being about auction prices and becomes something much more personal: family, memory, and identity. The cars here aren't just assets, they're artifacts from his own life. The story really starts with his father, Richard, the Old Man, Harrison. The Old Man was a true car guy, with a special love for big, beautiful American classics. His prized possession was a stunning 1966 Imperial Crown convertible, a car he spent 15 years convincing the previous owner to sell. At the time, this car cost more than a Rolls-Royce, and only around 514 were ever built. For Rick, this car is more than just a rare classic, it's a direct link to his dad. He's admitted he rarely drives it, saying it feels like steering a boat, but it remains one of his most cherished possessions, a real piece of his father's legacy. In a touching tribute, Rick and Corey had another of the Old Man's favorite models, a 1957 Chevy 150, completely restored for his 70th birthday, a massive project that brought together the teams from American Pickers and Counting Cars. This passion for cars was passed down, but Rick's own journey began with a much humbler ride, a 1973 Volkswagen Thing. He has said this was his first car, a bulletproof machine he learned to drive in. It's a quirky, almost utilitarian vehicle, a world away from the sleek muscle cars he'd later collect. The fact that he still owns one says everything about how much he values his past. Perhaps no vehicle in the collection better represents Rick today than his custom 1947 Dodge Power Wagon. This isn't a car he just bought, it's a car he built. In an interview, he described his vision for it: "I wanted the most badass truck in existence. So I built it." This metallic green monster is a blend of classic style and modern muscle, with a 500 horsepower LS2 engine and a custom interior. This truck is Rick's personality in metal form. It's tough, powerful, and old school on the outside, but completely modern under the skin. It's often parked right outside the pawn shop, a symbol of the owner's unique mix of grit and style. His collection isn't just limited to four wheels either. Rick has a deep appreciation for rare and historic motorcycles. He once took a gamble on an extremely rare 1942 Sorolia, a Belgian-made motorcycle from World War II. It was a risky buy, since parts are almost impossible to find, but it paid off. His collection also includes beautiful, restored Indian motorcycles from the early 1900s, like a 1940 Indian Chief with a sidecar, and even a rare 1969 Triumph T100C competition model. But his passion doesn't always turn a profit. He famously lost nearly $29,000 on a classic Indian motorcycle at an auction, a story that proves even Rick Harrison can let his heart overrule his head. These stories of wins and losses are what make the collection feel so real and relatable. It's not about perfection, it's about the thrill of the chase. So, they opened Rick Harrison's garage. And what they found wasn't an FBI raid, hidden treasure, or a secret criminal empire. The discovery that leaves you speechless isn't a single object you can put a price on. It's the realization of what the garage truly means, when you step back and look at the collection as a whole, from the multi-$100,000 Shelby to the humble VW Thing he learned to drive in, you see the complete picture. You see a timeline of a man's life. The garage is a private museum, not of general history, but of his history. The 1966 Imperial Crown is a monument to his late father, a physical piece of the man who started it all. The Steve McQueen Chevy is a nod to his heroes and his sharp business mind. The custom Power Wagon is a reflection of his own identity, rugged, powerful, and built with his own hands. The motorcycles, with their stories of profit and loss, show his willingness to take a risk for something he loves. Even the cars he regrets buying tell a part of the story. The speechless discovery is the incredible contrast between the public persona and this intensely private world. On TV, we see Rick the Pawn Star, a man who measures the value of everything in dollars. Every object has a price, and emotion is a weakness in a negotiation. But in his garage, that persona disappears. Here, value is measured in memories, in family, and in the connection to the past. This is Rick the son, Rick the father, and Rick the lifelong car fanatic. This space is his sanctuary, a place where he can escape the fame and reconnect with his truest passion. He has said that when he gets off work, he goes straight to his machine shop or works on his old cars. The garage is his therapy, his creative outlet, and his personal archive. The real secret wasn't something he was hiding in shame, but something he was protecting for himself. It's the one place where he isn't the Pawn Star, he's just Rick. And that revelation is more surprising, and more human, than any wild rumor could ever be. So, the next time you see Rick Harrison on your screen, leaning over the counter and coolly sizing up an item's worth, remember what's behind the curtain. Beyond the fame, the fortune, and the tough-as-nails negotiator, there is a man whose real treasures aren't kept under glass in his pawn shop. They're parked under the lights in his garage. We started this journey chasing sensational rumors of FBI raids and dark secrets, all spun from digital fiction. But we ended up discovering a truth that's far more fascinating. We found that the garage is more than a collection of metal, it's a living autobiography. It's a tribute to his father's legacy, a scrapbook of his own life, and a workshop for his passions. The speechless discovery wasn't a shocking crime, but the quiet, profound realization that this space reveals the real man behind the celebrity. It's a powerful reminder that behind every public figure, there's a personal story waiting to be told, often in the most unexpected of places. What do you think of Rick Harrison's incredible collection? Is there a car you think is the coolest? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this look behind the scenes, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story where we uncover the secrets of your favorite stars. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.